we've kind of talked a little about under the radar, so I'm going to skip that and go to players. Players who will be a household name. This was tough for me in the Big 12, but players that will be a household name in 2020. What are we in? 5. ACC first. I only did like 1 or 2 for these, so I did way less matchups. So I don't know what you've got, but you can go first.
I think Eric Rivers is going to continue to show why he was one of the most sought after wide receivers from the G5 level. Had over 1,000 yards last season at FIU. And I think that just being a part of Buster Faulkner's system is going to allow him to win his one-on-one battles. If he and Haynes King can build a rapport, this is a guy that has lightning in a bottle speed. This is a guy that I think can win as a vertical threat. He can win across the middle of the field. And I think that he's got good footwork that is going to let him be able to beat smaller defenders and even slower defenders off the line of scrimmage to create that separation that you want to see. And so I'm ready to buy a lot of stock in him. Another wide receiver that I absolutely love, and I just don't know why we forgot about him. Of course I do. He was injured all of last year. It's got to be Colin Lacey out at Louisville. Again, this is a kid who, when he was at South Alabama, nobody could guard him in the Sun Belt. Nobody. You could line up your best and future first-round cornerback against him, and he was bulldozing him off the line of scrimmage with his speed and with his pristine footwork. And then last year he had the broken collarbone. He took the medical red shirt. That way he could actually come back and boost up his draft stock. And I think that he's going to be in a great situation. I'm just going to call it as is. I thought that Tyler Shuck was a good quarterback for what you want to run in Jeff Brom's system. I think Miller Moss can be a great quarterback on what you want to run in Jeff Brom's system. And so if you got a great receiver, if you got a quarterback that really works out, if they can speak the same language, it's really challenging not to appear them as two names that are going to change and alter the course of what we know about Louisville football. And then on the defensive side, I think Peter Woods is going to have an All-American season. I think that getting a guy like Tom Allen, who knows defensive lines, just helped Penn State produce one of the better front sevens in college football last year. His growth, his maturity is only going to get more refined, and it's going to lead to Clemson once again being that bulldozer of a team in the ACC that everybody just has to kind of prepare for. Look out. One quarterback, I will say, Darian Mensah. It was not a flash in the pan at the G5 level. I get it. You aren't going to have the most elite wide receiver play, but I think that Duke is not going to regret paying $3 million to go lending themselves a quarterback that could at least put them in that realm of 9 wins consecutively with Manny Diaz at the helm.
These were hard for me because I don't know that I have a great read on, because I'm so entrenched in the ACC stuff. I don't know that I have a great read on who is or who isn't a household name.
Sure.
So I just went with the player that I was a true freshman last year that I think is going to be a top 10 wide receiver in the country. And I think it's TJ Moore. I think that he absolutely crushes. I mean, take your pick with which, sophomore wide receiver you want from Clemson. I went with the guy that was from Tampa just because that was easier. But I'll go TJ Moore for Clemson. I think he really explodes. We both talked about how much we like Cade. He's my QB1 as well. I think he's kind of unguardable. I think he's an absolute freak, and I think if people don't know his name enough because Clemson lost 4 games, or because Clemson had a down year by their standards or whatever, or because they don't care about the ACC, whatever, I think people will know his name. And, unfortunately for the rest of the ACC, he gets 2 more years in Clemson to make it happen. And then I don't know if this is a great pick for this specific category, but I do think Miller Moss has a really good year. And I think people have kind of forgotten about him. Louisville's very slept on. I think he turns it around, has a really, really good year in the ACC. And, I think he could even be, the kind of guy that's rumored to, what's he going to do the year after? Now, I think Louisville retains him. I'm trying to start a rumor, before anything crazy happens. But I think Miller Moss is kind of your household name there in the ACC by the end of the year as well. Big 12, just very quickly, I've got linebacker Keaton Thomas from Baylor, 114 tackles last year. I really like Baylor. I really like them defensively, and I think he anchors them to be really, really good. I think more people know his name by the end of the year. And then you were talking about Iowa State's wide receivers. Maybe this is a pick of desperation, but ECU transfer Chase Sowell, 1,300 yards in 2 years, not a ton of touchdown production. I think in Matt Campbell's system, I do think he's going to ratchet that up. I think he'll have a really nice year for them. Maybe, again, that's a desperation pick because I want Iowa State to be good. But I think that he will be a name that a lot of people know. Other names, I think they kind of already are to me, but I mean, if people don't know who Jordan Tyson is this year, they're going to find out without Cam Scatterbo being the primary focus of that offense. I think he is a name that will just continue to explode. if people don't know who Retzlaff, Johnson, or Daniels are yet, I think they do. So I didn't really put them in this list. I think they all have pretty good years this year. Avery could, he's been up and down, and can he stay healthy? That's a big question for me. I'm sorry, not Avery, Jalen. But I do think that those three quarterbacks are, will get more love this year with better seasons.
What about, do you consider Sawyer Robertson at this point a household name?
It's so hard because, again, in the Big 12, I feel like they're the slept-on conference. I don't yet, but he could be. I mean, depending on what happens this year, but I think the Big 12 is so disrespected that I would say I would lean toward no nationally. In the Big 12, for sure. I don't think nationally he is.
Fair.
It's more of a perception of the Big 12 as opposed to his play.
Sure. I think that's fair. Number one for me, Tanner Koizil comes on in now from Wisconsin. Actually was at Ball State. He goes to Houston. I've always preached this. If you are a quarterback that is trying to find a rhythm, get yourself a stability tight end. Get yourself just somebody that can be a difference maker and move the chains. And that's kind of what Slade Nagel was looking for Connor Wigman, was to get himself a player that is going to work in that 7 to 10 yard range and put the sticks moving forward. Last season at Ball State, 94 catches, over 830 yards, 8 touchdowns. I think he can be that security blanket that's needed for Houston to take that step forward. I think J.C. Brown, the wide receiver from Kansas State, is a name just to continuously watch. He had a really good close to last season. He and Avery Johnson were starting to speak the same language. It felt like that they were trending in that right direction. So if you get that and you pair it alongside with what you know in Dylan Edwards in your run game, and you just have a wide receiver that you can trust on third down to kind of move the ball ahead, I feel really good about that. I feel negative saying it this way because of I've been preaching him up, but I actually think if you're talking about a quarterback that is going to take the most necessary jump forward to get in that same range of what we're talking about with Sam Leavitt to go to the college football playoff, it is Sawyer Robertson. Robertson, in my opinion, was the difference of Baylor getting a brand new head coach and a whole new staff coming on in and having to pay a lucrative buyout and maybe losing a ton of players to getting the 9 wins. It was all on 13. And he has a full offseason to build a rapport alongside on what you have with Jake Spavital as your offense coordinator. He has multiple weapons that I think are going to be good, but not great, but still good is good enough. I think you can trust the run game. And I think if you set the tone against Auburn, you're off to the races. Confidence plays a big time role. And then one more, I like Quentin Joyner going on into Texas Tech. I think just leaving Los Angeles, joining an offense with Mac Leftwich, who is probably going to trust that run game with that up-tempo passing attack that mitigates against the run with that spread formation. I think that could do wonders for Joey McGuire's system. We've seen it in the past where running backs that are often underutilized, they get into a team that's like, hey, let's move the ball really quickly. I end up having over 900 rushing yards. I think Jordan can be that guy out in Lubbock.
We may agree on this, and we may have already said it, but best player in the conference each side?
I would go I'll do Big 12 first. It's Sam Leavitt, in my opinion. Sam Leavitt comes back. Yeah, starting quarterback, led your team to the college football playoff, led your team against an SEC squad back down by 16 to take it to double overtime, and probably had an opportunity to get a win. It's hard for me to go ahead and bank against that when you have an offensive coach like Kenny Dillingham.
I'll agree with you, and then I'll go Cade Klubnik. I mean, to me, he could be the number 1 pick in the draft next year. We'll see. But he's my QB1. He plays for the best team. He plays the most important position. This wasn't a terribly difficult exercise for me on this one. I don't know if you want to go somewhere else, but that's what my take is.
It wasn't difficult, but I will say I think if the Doak Walker does come from the ACC, it's going to be Isaac Brown. What he did last year was super impressive for Louisville. I think he's only going to get better in Jeff Brom's system. I still will take Klubnik, but if just to be different, throw another name out there. Isaac Brown, I think, has an opportunity to get over 1,800 rushing yards and 20-plus touchdowns this year, especially with how good that veteran offensive line is going to be out in Louisville.